Hey, this is Judgment Awaits with 3DayRespawn.com. Wanted to wish everybody a happy Easter. I am playing Modern Warfare 3, and this is a hardcore team deathmatch on the map Outpost for you. But I'm not going to be talking about this at all. I heard about a couple resignations here in the Call of Duty world, and the first one I wanted to talk about was that of FourZeroTwo, who is the community development manager, creative strategist, whatever you want to call him, for Infinity Ward. He seemed to be basically the front guy for the Modern Warfare Call of Duties, not Black Ops, and World at War. I followed him on Twitter, and it seemed like he took a lot of abuse. If you didn't like the Modern Warfares for any reason, you saw a lot of people just hating on him and everything like that. And I'm sure it wasn't, his job wasn't all of that, but I'm sure he had to put up with a lot of stuff. I personally, thought the guy was pretty cool. I made a response once when Modern Warfare 1 came out in the Xbox forums, and he actually responded to that. And, he just seemed to genuinely care about the community. So I wish him the best of luck, in his new endeavor. I'm sure he's got something else going on. Actually, from his latest tweets, it's pretty clear that he does have something else going on, so I'm sure we'll hear about that more and more as time goes on. Now, I also heard that Hutch left Machinima Respawn. Now, I don't know why he left, though, so I'm just curious. If you know anything about that, let me know. Leave it for me in the comments. Hutch, though, was one of the very first commentators that I used to watch, and I used to watch Hutch and Scene Anders and some others. I don't really watch them anymore, and I don't even know if they're putting out stuff anymore. But I always liked Hutch because he called people out. He was very vocal, and I remember him calling people out about not playing the objectives. People would go on domination and they just go for the high kill count and wouldn't worry about capping flags or anything like that. And that's a problem that's still around today, and one that bugs me. But he was one of the very first people to call people out and tell them to play the objectives. So I always appreciated that. So I'm gonna miss Hutch. I'm sure he's got something else going on though. And like I said, if you know what that is, let me know. Other than that, though, I'd like to know how you're celebrating Easter for those of you that are. I've spent this week really getting into the Word and reading about, the last days that led up to the crucifixion. And, tomorrow I'm going to read about the resurrection and everything like that. But, something that's really stood out to me this last week is just reading about the disciples and what they must have been going through during this whole period of time. And it's something that I've looked over, but whenever I read the Bible, I like to put myself into, those people that I'm reading about, try to put myself into their shoes and think about what they were thinking and everything like that. Oftentimes I forget that these guys were human and real, just like me. I think of these guys as these super, natural giants of Christianity and everything like that. But man, Jesus chose everyday people. He didn't choose the religious elite. He chose the sinners, the tax collectors and everything to be his disciples. And these guys had real feelings just like me. And you think about this, up until this time, they've been following Jesus around for years. They are heavily invested in him. They respect him. They love him and care about him. And you think about them having their last meal, with Jesus. And Jesus tells them, hey, one of you guys is going to betray me. You think about the shock that they must have been going through hearing that. They were totally clueless about that. So they're dealing with that. I'm sure it's a very sober time. Jesus is distraught. He knows what's about to happen. He takes his disciples after that meal with him to the garden to pray, and here comes Judas, with the mob, and Judas betrays him. He's arrested. I mean, can you imagine these disciples? They think Jesus is gonna save them from the Romans, and deliver them, and they're expecting this new kingdom to come on the earth, in a very different way than what it actually happens. So I can't imagine how shocked they are when Jesus gets arrested, and I can't imagine what, is going through their minds when they see somebody that they care about and love, being beaten in the way that Jesus was, and ultimately, he's nailed to a cross and crucified, and they hear the words, the words that really stuck out to me was when, Jesus says, that I'm thirsty. Can you imagine your friend, somebody that you care about, nailed to a cross, and he says that, what they must have been dealing with and thinking about, and then ultimately, he says, my God, why have you forsaken me? What is going on in their heads? I'm sure they believe he is the Christ, the Son of God, and then to hear him say that, has to be throwing them for a loop, and then ultimately he says, the words, it is finished, and he dies, and they see him taken down from the cross and put into a tomb, and he's dead. What the heck are they dealing with? What the heck is going on in their minds? It just really hit me this time reading all of that. Of course, that's not the end of the story, though. Christ rises from the dead. He appears to those disciples, and they are transformed, from seeing him alive. It's amazing what a difference, the resurrection makes. It is the ultimate pinnacle of Christianity, the most important time to celebrate, I feel, for a Christian. And, it's amazing what the resurrection, difference makes, even from simple things, once we looked as a cross, something horrible, meant to torture and kill and everything like that. Now, when I look at the cross, it's the ultimate symbol of God's love for me. It's amazing how God can take things that, look so horrible and make them so beautiful, or you look at the tomb or the grave, once the tomb is just this place of despair and hopelessness and everything like that, but now, we see the empty tomb and it is a source of hope for us. I'm not worried about dying. When my time comes, I know I'm going to a far better place, and life really is truly going to begin for me after that. And I know that there is nothing that I've ever done, ever will do, or ever could do to, deserve that or earn that. That is totally a gift from God, totally a gift of grace, and I hope you know that, and I hope you've experienced that. If you haven't, you've got any questions, send them to me. And there was a time in my life where, I was raised in the church, but there was a time in my life where somebody said, why do you believe in God? And I couldn't answer that. I had no clue why. I believed in God because that's the way I was raised, but God revealed himself to me. And I believe that if you're serious and if you want to know and if you'll search, God will do the same to you. He will reveal himself to you. And I want to encourage you to do that, though. Send me any questions, comments you have, or anything like that. I'd love to hear from you. And if you do know about the grace that I'm talking about, I want to challenge you. What difference has that made in your life? What difference has the resurrection made in your life? Man, it has totally transformed my life. Jesus Christ has given us a mission to carry on his work, and that work is one of, telling other people about him, showing his love to other people, not condemning them, not going around judging them, but loving on them and telling them the good news. So I want to encourage you to do that. But hey, this video is over, and once again, I just want to wish you guys a happy Resurrection Sunday. As always, take care and God bless.